What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Week 14 edition of the Sunday Sideline Report here on the Sports Insanity Network. Mike and the old Ops guy with you. Old Ops guy, good morning. How are you?
No, just doing fine, hanging out, talking football.
I think you're going to break into that 70s show, hanging out down the street, the same old thing that you did last week.
Eh, yeah. No, it's more like Pinky in the Brain. Try to rule the world every day, and I keep trying to do the same thing.
Pinky in the Brain. Shout out to it. Narf. Yeah. Yeah. I know my old school television.
Everybody does. Everybody loves TV. Speaking of TV, it's Sunday on the NFL.
It is Sunday. We're talking football. Good day of football yesterday, too, if you're a college fan. All those conference championship games. Then today's for the pros. Tomorrow you got Monday night football. By the way, did you see what the Eagles did?
Which thing?
They put a kind of like a blow up rabbit in their locker room. They're calling it the positive bunny.
God. The Positive Bunny.
Yeah, if you want, look it up. It is very interesting the way things are going in Philadelphia. But they play tomorrow. We'll get into their game in a little bit. But we will start with one of their biggest rivals who played on Thursday night. That would be Mark's Dallas Cowboys, who fell to the Detroit Lions by a score of 44-30. Jared Goff, 25 of 34, 309 yards and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery combined for 4 touchdowns, 3 from Gibbs, 1 from Montgomery. And Jamison Williams, 7 catches, 96 yards. For the Cowboys, Dak Prescott, 31 of 47, 376 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks. Javonte Williams, who went over 1,000 yards for the season in this game, 17 carries, 67 yards, and a touchdown. And CD Lamb went for 121 yards on 6 receptions. Did leave the game with a concussion. We do not know his status yet for next week. The Cowboys, well, they fall back to 500 at 6-6-1, while the Detroit Lions rebound from a Thanksgiving loss to the Packers, and they are now 8-5. Mark, it was the Cowboys, so I'm going to give you the floor.
Yeah. Look, the Cowboys' two previous wins were the KC and the Eagles. Before that was the Raiders. I had made a statement a while back that it was going to be the toughest stretch for this Cowboys team. For the fact that they won 3 out of 4 of those games shows that this team is getting better. Mike said that Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery combined for 4 touchdowns. Absolutely. Montgomery on that 25-yard breakaway, and then Gibbs on, the short ends and whatnot. The thing I want to point out is they held that elite running back team to only 109 yards. This shows a dramatic change in the Dallas run stop over the last 4 weeks. It didn't matter though, between penalties that Al Michaels pretty much said it completely throughout the whole night. And there's another flag. Oh, why not another flag? Hey, we wouldn't have a down without a flag on it. There were flags for everything. And I'm not saying they weren't warranted, but there was literally a flag on every down that was played.
Um,
As for, sorry.
The one on Jake Ferguson. Are we serious?
Oh, come on. It was one of the worst calls I've seen all year. But you want to know what? I recognize that it's his fault. Even Mike recognizes it was at fault. Doesn't matter. Nothing we can do to change it. Can argue, cry, and yell at it all we want. It's still not going to change it.
Hmm.
Something like that has to be made reviewable next year, but we'll worry about what they're going to do next year. As for Dallas. Javonte Williams going over 1,000 yards. That's great. It's not the first time a Dallas running back has done that, but it's the first time a Dallas running back has been consistent enough to do it since Tony Pollard left. CeeDee Lamb left this game, as Mike said, with 121 yards, but with a concussion. If CeeDee Lamb doesn't leave with a concussion, Dallas game much closer. Hats off to Ryan Flournoy for coming in, 9 receptions, 115 yards. Now, the Dallas Cowboy wide receiver situation is a little bit jumbled, and a lot of people have asked me, what's going on with Jalen Tolbert? Why isn't he being used? Well, the answer to your question is during that time when CD's ankle went down, Flournoy was the one who produced. He's the one who had the most receptions. That's why you see more Ryan Flournoy than Jalen Tolbert, and Jalen Tolbert was a much higher pick.
And Tolbert, I believe, was a healthy scratch.
Yes,
Yeah.
because Flournoy was there to take the spot. Jalen Tolbert is going to become expendable for the Dallas Cowboys in a good way. I believe they will trade him in the offseason, help acquire maybe a fourth round pick, but his time with Dallas probably will not be seen unless Dallas makes the playoffs. And if there are any Dallas fans wondering, the only way this Cowboys team can make the playoffs is by winning the division. There is no wild card chance. Unless the Eagles lose out, the Cowboys can't win the division. So I credit the Cowboys for doing as well as they've done. Considering everything, they're just going to be better for next year.
You gave the Cowboy defense, well, the run defense credit, and that's fair. I will give you the run defense did its job. They can, for the most part, contain Gibbs and Montgomery. I'm going to credit the Detroit Lions. And where I'm going to credit the Detroit Lions is this. Yeah, they contain Jahmyr Gibbs as a running back. They didn't contain him as a wide receiver. And the Lions utilizing Gibbs as a receiver was massive in this game. I think it was 7 catches for 77 yards. That was a really smart move by Dan Campbell in the presence of that will help Jared Goff and this banged up offensive line. Short passes. Now, we didn't think we'd see Amon-Ra St. Brown on Thursday night. We did see Amon-Ra St. Brown on Thursday night, and he had an impact. Going for 92 yards. I probably had the biggest catch of the game. The catch that sealed the game on a third down, going across the middle, and then down the field, setting up that last Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown, which was icing on the cake. So give the Lions that. The Lions won the game on the line of scrimmage, guys. Sacked Dak Prescott about 4 or 5 times. They forced 3 turnovers, which they hadn't been doing. So give the Detroit Lions credit there. And now that defense gets a big blow, but because Brian Branch will miss the rest of the season with a torn Achilles. So
Yeah.
that's a massive blow.
To a secondary that has been depleted. I'll give one credit for this Detroit secondary is that the moment that CeeDee Lamb went out, they shut down George Pickens. And we've seen George Pickens shine with CD Lamb out before. It had
Mhm.
nothing to do with that. Once you take someone like George Pickens and unfortunately CD Lamb out of the game due to injury, not that they were doubling down on him, there was nobody else who stepped up really but Ryan Flanoy. There was no real makeup here. And that's why I am more concerned of Dallas's unuse of Cavante Turpin in the receiving game more at that point and stuff. Again, even though they lost, I'm proud of them for doing as well as they've done in this middle stretch.
I'd be pissed off at Turpin because it's the second straight week. He calls a fair catch on a punt and gets
And,
called for a penalty. Can't happen.
so quickly, because we got a lot to cover. The one in the Detroit game definitely was hand up, penalty. In this game, even though, it wasn't much, it was half his body. If you raise your hand open palmed at any time across your waist, it's a fair catch symbol. He did. It was called right. Fine. Move on. He's just got to do better.
You got to figure that out. And the other guy who got picked on in this game was the rookie, Ravel, the corner.
Oh,
Oh, they picked on him all night.
yeah. And Mike just said what he was. He's a rookie. He was a very highly thought a draft pick, by multiple teams.
Mm-hmm.
But
Knee injury.
yeah, just he's a rookie. He wasn't prepared. It was a tough game for him. He'll get better, but it's not going to be an overnight success.
Yeah, next week the Cowboys will play the Vikings, I believe, is next week.
Yes, the Vikings on Sunday Night Football, which I am truly feeling they will flex
They
out.
should flex that out. What
Yep.
they flex it out for, I'm gonna look right.
I don't. There's plenty of games that it can be changed for.
Well, I also have to look to see who the Lions are. You can flex it out for the Lions game because that's pretty big. The Lions go to LA to play the Rams.
That should be your Sunday night game. Yes.
You could go that as Sunday night. You could go Colts Seahawks as Sunday night.
Yeah. That's
Packers
why I said there are a few
Broncos.
choices. But they have to make that decision. I believe it has to be by midnight tonight to give ticket owners time to exchange their
Adjust.
tickets out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? No, they make this one Sunday night. Raiders Eagles next week.
Oh, please.
All right. Like Mark said, we got a lot to go over. We'll start with quarterback news and then we'll get into some other stuff. Jonathan Gannon earlier this week announced Kyler Murray's foot not recovering the way the Cardinals want. He's going to miss the rest of the season. With this foot injury, they're going to play Jacoby Brissett the rest of the way. And that being said, and we talked about this when the injury first happened, Kyler Murray's played his last down in Arizona. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, in my opinion. Where he goes, that'll be the next question, but Kyler Murray will not be an Arizona Cardinal next season.
His first year was a beaut to watch. It really was. He had a great first year. And it's been downhill since that by not having receivers and whatnot. I agree with Mike. This is his time was over. As Mike said, we had already discussed this once he was not coming back from the knee injury. And there are a lot of teams out there that need a quarterback. Where he goes, we'll discuss more as the season ends.
I've got two on the top of my head. I'll just throw them out there. The Raiders, I think, is the easiest option. I'm going to throw a wild card in there. And it depends on one thing. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Him and DK wouldn't be such a bad 1-1.
And the other
Depends on
guy,
But the rumor that stands out is he does not want to play in an area of the country that is cold.
Well, he's never done it, so that's what.
Right. That's what could keep him away from Pittsburgh. Las Vegas, I think I agree with you. That makes the most sense. He be the star in a new stadium, everything, it's got some appeal there.
Or he's the next quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Who knows?
Please no.
Other quarterback news: the Cleveland Browns opened up the 21-day window on Deshaun Watson to practice, but according to Adam Schefter last night, they don't expect Watson to play this year, but they are going to keep him on the roster for next year simply because that contract is not tradable.
You, you got to be effing kidding me. They're going to open up a 21-day window. I think that opening up the window is just ridiculous if he's not going to play. Shador should be finishing out the season, in my opinion. Let's see how this kid does. Let him
I
finish
think
it out.
that's going to be the plan.
Yeah, let him finish it out. This Deshaun Watson deal is so ridiculous. The guy has done nothing but collect a $290 million freebie. There was no insurance protection, nothing in this contract. So they have to keep him on the roster because if they don't, they got to give him the money anyway. So they keep him on the roster. What are they going to make him do? Sit on the bench. He won't start unless somebody gets injured. And could it end up being he's tradable? Sure. Nobody is touching that contract.
Nobody's touching the contract.
So I don't think Deshaun Watson plays another down in Cleveland unless something drastically happens to Shedeur Sanders.
Unless here's where it has to be: if Shador doesn't play well enough, I wonder what the plan is. Because they still have Dylan Gabriel, they'll still have Shador, and now all of a sudden they might have a healthy Deshaun Watson going into next year. We've just said no one's touching the contract.
Right.
And I don't even know if it's a cuttable contract just based on how the dead cap could spread.
Right. And that's why it's
And,
not.
and so my question to the Browns would be, what are we doing? With all three of these guys, what are we doing? You're right in the sense of Shadur's going to get the looks the rest of the year, barring injury.
Right.
We've already seen Dylan Gabriel and, what some of his abilities are. And we know what Deshaun Watson is. My question to be going into 2026 is going to be, well, how do we make this team better? Because Myles Garrett's probably breaking the sack record this year. And you are fortunate enough to let for him to be staying after he made a trade request.
Right.
And you're just burning this dude's prime. I just don't know where you go with this if you're the Browns. I think this is an organizational blunder. And we'll have to wait and see. But Deshaun Watson might have an opportunity to start for the Browns next year.
And we'll see, it's a lot of money to sit on the bench.
It's a lot of money doing a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the Browns, the Athletics' Dane Brugler put out his 2026 mock draft earlier this week. And on it, he has the Cleveland Browns trading up from pick number 5, which where they would be now, to
Correct.
pick number 1 to draft Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza. But
Come
now with
on.
this whole Watson thing, that doesn't make any sense.
Hey, I was. That's why I'm like, come on. You're gonna tell me you're gonna have Shadur Watson and another number one pick? Come on. Yeah, no. No. With the Watson news, yeah, that becomes unfeasible. I do not see Cleveland trading up for a quarterback. If anything, I think Cleveland's in a prime spot to trade down a couple of picks and pick up some extra draft picks in the draft.
And they're getting, well, they need a couple of things. So maybe they look at the receiver position or somewhere else.
Or the offensive line position.
The offensive line, which has gotten, remember when they had the best offensive line in football just a couple of years ago?
Joe, long live Joe Thomas.
Joe Thomas, Jack Conklin.
Yeah, that was a good line.
Yeah. Number 2, the Raiders would be moving up to 2 with the New York Giants. Draft Oregon quarterback Dante Moore.
That could be more likely. As the Giants, I don't see drafting a quarterback with Dart as the mainstay there. I mean, I understand you have to have a number two. You go get a free agent number two,
I
you
think
know.
Jameis signed a 2-year contract, so you just keep Jameis.
I don't think Jameis wants to play in New York. I think somehow he'll force out.
Um,
I think Jameis believes he's a starting quarterback somewhere. I
where
don't.
the heck is Jameis starting next year?
There's only one other team besides Las Vegas that I really think needs a starter, and that's New Orleans.
And he was already there, but
Yeah, that's the only thing I see.
they need a whole roster reset there in New Orleans. And I've been saying that for the
And you
last
can get
3 years.
Jameson probably very cheap, sixth, seventh round pick.
Speaking of the Saints, they have the number 3 pick. They would draft linebacker, edge rusher Arvell Reese out of Ohio State.
They don't make a trade for a quarterback; they draft a quarterback in the first round.
Or they trade down and accumulate more picks because they need them.
Mm,
Number 4, after their trade with the Raiders, the Giants would draft Carnell Tate, the receiver from Ohio State.
that I like.
The Titans, after their trade with the Falcons, with the Browns, would draft Eldrick Falk, an edge rusher.
Okay.
6 would be the Washington Commanders. This guy has them drafting Ruben Bain, the edge rusher from Miami.
I was about to say the edge rusher. I just wouldn't know what college, but I've heard his name before.
He was probably the top prospect coming into the season, and then
Okay.
had a pretty decent season.
Washington's defensive line needs the help.
Washington could use a lot of things.
Washington needs to protect Jaden Daniels.
They
That's what
need
they
it.
got.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
7 would be Dan's Jets. They would be drafting Jordan Tyson, a receiver from Arizona State.
I don't know about that one. That pick I'm not sure about.
8,
Not saying no to it, just not sure of it.
8 would be the Cardinals. And with the Kyler stuff, who knows what the deal would be. But right now they got David Bailey, an edge rusher, going there. 9 would be the Rams. And you're asking yourself, why would the Rams be picking 9th? That would be because the Atlanta Falcons gave the Rams their first round pick in a trade last year at the draft to get
Right.
James Pierce. The Rams would be drafting Spencer Fano, an offensive lineman from Utah.
Who'll be blocking for a new quarterback, so that's good.
Who knows? Or they trade up for a quarterback. Although,
Uh, but confidently, and this is coming from Stafford's mouth. This is it for him. He has said this is his last year.
especially if they win it all.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and the Rams have been playing in that type of position, but we'll get into that later.
All right. And to wrap up the top 10, Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State, goes to the Bengals.
That makes sense.
And then just some other notable ones. The Vikings at 11 would take Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame.
Matheson is not really the answer there, so that makes sense.
The Steelers at 14 would be drafting Ty Simpson, the quarterback from
Yeah.
Alabama.
Well, that could be a very, very smart play considering it's not going to be Rodgers next year.
See, the Cowboys would be taking Jermod McCoy, corner from Tennessee, I believe.
I like that. That I like.
And then one of my favorite picks would be 24, the Niners, Mekhi Lemon from USC.
Okay. I mean, the draft being 6 months away, it's hard to predict, but some of these ones that this gentleman picked, I'm sorry, I didn't remember the name. Mike said it. I didn't say the name.
Dane Brugler.
Yeah. Some of them I like. Some it'll all depend on how the season ends on where teams are picking.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. We're long. Well, actually, we're not that far away from the draft. It's April. You got
4 months,
4 months.
not six. Sorry,
The,
4 months, not
the
six.
way the season's gone, the draft will be here tomorrow.
Pretty much, and we'll already be in the middle of baseball.
Oh boy, it's a whole nother setup. But we got some major games get to this afternoon. And we start with the one of the bigger ones. First place on the line in the AFC North. The Pittsburgh Steelers go to Baltimore, play the Ravens. Both teams coming off of awful losses last week.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, I understood the reason, you get Aaron Rodgers, you got DK Metcalf. It just wasn't enough. You were hoping your defense was going to help you win games. You have no running game. The Pittsburgh Steelers do not have a running game. Jalen Warren has 639 yards on the year. While that's not horrible, and he'll probably go over 1,000 by the end of the year. Um, it's not enough, and that's why DK Metcalf has had the poor year he's had. Besides the injury that kept him out, Aaron Rodgers is not playing Aaron Rodgers ish, and it's not a surprise. As for Lamar. He has a chance to bring Baltimore all the way back. And right here would be it not would be needs to be a win for Baltimore. Baltimore can't afford another loss.
Neither of these teams can afford another loss. But things are so bad last week in Pittsburgh. You had Steeler fans chanting "Fire Tomlin,"
Yep.
and that's been a hot topic of debate on all these sports talk shows throughout the week. And then Adam Schefter kind of dropped this in our laps last night about Mike Tomlin, and it has to do with his contract. So this is the article from Adam Schefter. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to fire coach Mike Tomlin, but they have a significant decision to make early next year. After this season, Tomlin's contract will have 2 years remaining, 2026 and a team option in 27. But according to league sources, the Steelers must decide whether to pick up the option on Tomlin's contract by March 1st. There'll be an organizational meetings and decisions that occur, but not until after the season, with a full body of work for all appropriate parties to review, sources said. The Steelers have not fired a head coach since 1968.
It's funny how it's said like that. I know they did not fire Bill Cowher. He retired. He was forced out, and he was given a chance to save face by saying he retired. There was always speculation, even when he began announcing he was going to go to another team, but he ended up becoming very comfortable, being with
Yeah.
CBS, and he never thought about it twice. Bill Carroll would have been fired, but he was given the chance to retire, not resign, but retire.
And he retired on top, Super Bowl 40.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
My thing on Tomlin is this. Look, every coaching gig has an expiration date.
Hmm.
And Bill Belichick is the greatest football coach of all time. Bill
I don't
Belichick was
disagree.
forced out. At some point, you need. I don't care about the organizational standards. I really don't. I do not care. The Pittsburgh Steelers need a change, but they don't just need a change, Mark, in my opinion, from the head coach. They need a change. They're another team like New Orleans. A roster reset.
For the Patriots?
No, the Steelers.
Oh, I was like, wait a
The
second.
the
Could you?
Patriots have their roster reset
I
with
was
Drake
I was like,
May.
wait a second. How did I get mixed
No,
up there for
the
a second? That's why I
Steelers
was
need a
at.
roster reset. They went
Thank you. I was
all
going to clarify.
they went all in on a 42-year-old quarterback.
Hmm.
That plan has backfired. Aaron Rodgers
Tremendously.
is not playing well enough.
And
Yes,
I don't want. Sorry, and I don't want to hear. Oh, he is playing with a fractured hand. No,
he
I don't
wasn't
want to
playing
hear it.
great before that.
Exactly.
And by the way, I don't think he should have played last week. And it
It
showed.
was,
Some of those pass he couldn't throw the ball down the field. But anyway, yeah, you got DK Metcalf. Whoop de doo. Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin couldn't combine as one person to become a number two receiver. They're barely a number three combined receiver. And then you want to talk about this defense? This all good, scary defense. Hey, TJ Watt, where were you last week? There was an APB out for you. Cam Hayward, you wanted more money? You got it. You didn't do anything last week. Oh, but you're going to complain about Josh Allen and he's sliding, his foot hit you in the stomach, whatever. You made this whole deal for Jalen Ramsey. I didn't see Jalen Ramsey last week. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been the definition of consistency basically my entire life.
I would say easily past for the past 30 years, easily.
That's my life.
Yeah.
It's a I think the fan base would be okay with you tearing parts of this down and starting over.
And I think they tried that with the drafting of Kenny Pickett and all that, but Pickett didn't have any charge. He was more of a fence. He got knocked over way too many times. Kenny Pickett is buried somewhere in some roster. I have no idea, and I really don't care. Cost me a lot of money in rookie cards. But yeah, Mike's right. But I wouldn't say you do it through the draft completely. I think there is chance for you need to get a free whether you don't have Rodgers next year. You
Yeah.
go get you want to make a small move and protect yourself for a year, maybe two. I don't think Geno Smith is ready to give it up. It's not the ultimate answer, but if you want to try to get a quarterback brought along in this league and get him ready, you know, you can make a play for that. I don't see it happening, but that would be the smallest move I can see making.
The mistake they made at quarterback was this. Instead of giving Justin Fields a real opportunity, they chose the 42-year-old.
And there's another very good point as well.
And as for the Ravens, listen, go out, win this game. You win this game at home, creep more down into the Steelers' heads. Steelers don't beat good teams. That's the thing. They beat the Colts. And well, they beat the Patriots too, but that was week 2. No one knows what was going on then. Speaking of AFC North teams still alive, there's the Bengals, who are still alive, and the return of Joe Burrow. All of a
Makes them
sudden,
relevant.
yeah. If the Bengals win this game, and whoever loses between Pittsburgh and Baltimore, the Bengals are going to be one game behind them.
Yep. And they're going up against Super Nate Moser, who will be diving on a table in the middle of the cold, or else.
I'm
And
rooting
if he
for the
does,
table.
no, well, you shouldn't be, because if he does it, you're a slave for a year. You got to do whatever the kid wants.
I've
We made
never
that.
agreed to this.
That doesn't matter. The hierarchy of the network has all voted yes, you lose. Nate, it
Hierarchy.
is
I
in
am
your
the
best interest,
network.
but it has to be gotten on ESPN. That's the whole key. Has to be gotten on ESPN, or it doesn't count.
And probably won't count.
No. Joe Burrow has made the Bengals viable again. I will be the first one to say last week I was saying they should not bring him back. There is no at what the cost, because if he got injured, I humbly take that retraction back. I'd make that retraction. It was a mistake. I was impressed by Joe Burrow's play last week. Here comes the question. I'm not worried about this Cincinnati offense. We know it can put points on the board, especially with Joe Burrow behind the line again. It's this defense going up against one of the best NFL game managers in football, who's had a shaky couple of weeks, but Josh Allen is one of the best at what he does. My problem is he doesn't really have that wide receiver core. Yes, he got Braden Cooks. Braden Cooks to 99. Only car dealers understand that one. They picked up Braden Cooks, which is a help. They found him a couple of times last week on third down and short. This wide receiver line isn't good enough to contend. And that puts more weight on James Cook, who is having a fantastic year, having a real great year, but also puts more weight on Josh Allen. And we know Josh Allen likes to run. The problem is, eventually, Josh Allen's not going to be able to do this. And if you don't get him some major help at this wide receiver position, they're never going to get where they want to be.
And maybe they get Dalton Kincaid back today. That would certainly help.
Right. I believe he's still down with the hamstring.
Yeah, game time decision, I believe.
Okay.
We'll wait and see, because an active list should be coming out in a couple of minutes. That would be beneficial for the Bills. The other thing for me on the Bills, and look, last week was a good win over the Steelers, but I thought it said more about the Steelers than it did the Bills. Like, Josh Allen didn't have to do much last week for that game to be won by the Bills. The Steelers just couldn't do anything offensively. The Steelers' offense was offensive to watch. But the Bills haven't played great football, it feels like, in a month. And they need a game here, because at some point they're going to go to New England, and that's going to be a big game. And it's not just Josh. The defense hasn't been great.
It's been giving up a lot of points over the last few weeks.
Yeah, if you want me to firmly put you in that category, and you want to get to what you're saying, get to where you want to get to, you got to win, and you got to look good. You look good earlier. You got to refine that magic.
And they can't blame it on the cold weather, because that's
That's
Buffalo.
them. It's Buffalo.
Right. So exactly, you cannot blame. It was too cold. He couldn't grip the ball. No, this is Buffalo. There should be no excuses about weather here. For to be honest, for either team, as Cincinnati's in Ohio, so
Well,
right next door.
Cincinnati's problem isn't the weather. Their problem is their defense stinks.
Yeah, and Buffalo has to seize opportunities when it gets its chances.
Uh, And for Cincinnati today, though, T. Higgins will play. So
And
Burrow,
that is
Chase,
bigger
and
than a lot
Higgins.
of people understand because that's going to open up Jamar Chase to one-on-one coverage.
And by the way, Jamar Chase is only 30 yards away from his fifth straight 1,000-yard season.
Hats off to him.
He'll
What a
be the fifth
fantastic
player all
receiver.
time to do it.
Yeah, big mouth, but he's a fantastic football player.
Oh, yeah. By the way, Burrow, Chase, and Higgins have only been on the field 8% of the Bengals snaps this year.
Hmm.
All right, so we got the Bengals and the Bills. We have first place on the line in the AFC South with the Colts and the Jaguars.
At least it's a higher record teams.
It's true. We've seen worse with the AFC South.
Yeah.
Look, I think the Colts have been figured out a little bit here. If you
Well, over the
stop,
last 2 weeks.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you contain Jonathan Taylor, you could beat them. Which really speaks
You
to
know,
Jonathan Taylor's MVP candidacy.
there is no better running back in the league right now than Jonathan Taylor. I'm sorry. I mean, yes, the last 2 weeks he's been held under 70 yards a game and no touchdowns. He's actually on a 3-game no touchdown streak. I
Yeah.
expect that to be broken today. As Jacksonville is not very good against the run, good against the pass, but not the run. And I think that's the problem right there. I think you're going to take Daniel Jones out of this game. And I'm not talking about injury, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not trying to say they're going to hurt him. No, I think this Jacksonville Jaguar team is going to take the passing game out of it by blitzing and by keying downward. Jacksonville's okay playing man-to-man coverage. They're okay with that. Daniel Jones, look, he's had a fantastic season, yada, yada, yada. We've said it every week for the last 14 weeks. He's showing signs of weakness these last 3. And that's a problem because if you can't throw the ball, they're already keying on your running game. This Indianapolis Colts team is in a downward spiral right now. If they don't get back to the way of playing football by opening holes for Taylor, they're in trouble.
So this comes down from Ian Rappaport. Bills tight end Dalton Kincaid, who pulled his hamstring in week 10, active today.
That's a big help for the Bills.
That'll be massive for the Bills and my fantasy team. I'll tell you what's important. To your point, the Jags are actually very good against the run. So,
I've noticed the games I've watched them, it's always been better on the passing.
But you know what? Here's the story for me. The story isn't even the Colts. The story is, can Trevor Lawrence get this done? That's the guy. I wrote an article for the website, esportsinCityNewYork.com, before the season. Quarterbacks under the most pressure. Trevor Lawrence was number 1. You know why Trevor Lawrence was number 1? Because Trevor Lawrence hasn't won a damn thing in this league. And he was a number 1 pick, and he was a phenomenal college quarterback. And he's on
That he was.
And he's on another head coach. It's on Trevor Lawrence to go out there and win a division that he is very capable of winning and leading the Jaguars to win this division.
If you look at Lawrence's numbers, I mean, they're pretty much status quo as of last year. Pretty much right on the line, 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns. But the problem is his interceptions are so up right now. He's got 11 interceptions That's a lot. You're talking about your TD to interception ratio. It's horrible.
Hmm.
He's got to stop forcing the ball in and get it to the outside more. I mean, for a guy with his talent, and mind you, Brian Thomas missed a couple of games due to injury. He's still the leading receiver, only with 448 yards. This Jaguar offense is capable of so much more.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Jags, Colts, they play for the first time today. First place of the NFC North is on the line too. Bears, Packers at Lambeau, and
Yes, I.
like I just said about Trevor Lawrence, same thing could be said about Jordan Love today. Jordan Love, if the Packers want to win, Jordan Love needs to play like he did last week against the Lions.
So, I've watched Jordan Love this entire season. He's a good quarterback. I'm not going to say the kid's not, but he's not to me, it seems like he is reliant on too many factors. He takes too much time with the ball. He forces the ball into tough positions. But, to be a quarterback in the league, you're not going to have it easy all the time. The defense is what's really making this Green Bay team stand out. And with the addition of Micah Parsons, if you want to hear my comments on that, check out the vlog that'll be dropping this week. You can read it on the sportsinsidernetwork.com. Um, Micah Parsons having an amazing season. I expect him to.
Mm-hmm.
He is a difference maker. What we've seen doesn't matter how good your defense is if your offense can't do anything with it. I think they get Jaden Reed back today, which is a very, very big help to Jordan Love, as Jaden Reed was one of his top targets last year. Now you got a wide receiver crew that's healthy. Let's see what he does with it. And this is, like Mike said, a very critical game because if Green Bay loses this game, they're going to drop back to 8-4-1, and that's going to put them in the position where with the Lions.
Yeah.
And who's going to be fighting for that final wild card spot? Because in my picks, I have three teams from the NFC North going to the playoffs.
And by the way, for the Packers, just to point this out, look at their schedule. This is the first time they're going to play the Bears. They still got a meeting. They got to meet next week in Denver. I'm trying to pull the damn schedule up. But again, they get the Bears twice. They got to go to Denver. Of course, I picked the week they go to Chicago. Then they got to play the Ravens. That's a big game. That might be a big game for the Ravens. And then they end the year playing the Vikings, right? It's the Vikings. Yes. So the Vikings would love nothing more than to knock the Packers out. And by the way, the Bears have been on a roll.
Oh yeah.
Ben Johnson's done an unbelievable job.
The Bears do lose a very big part of their team today, as Roma Duzier will be out
Yep.
due to injury. So that's going to put a little bit of more pressure on DJ Moore. And, DeAndre Swift and Mangai have to have, you know, last week they were, I mean, last week they were good. They got to just be as good and just keep running the ball. And Caleb Williams is having a great year.
Yep.
2,700 yards, 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's fumbled a few times. That's because he carries the ball like a loaf of bread. So hopefully he's worked on that.
Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet also, the tight ends. You got
Yeah.
two good ones. So,
Yep.
and then we got our two primetime games. We got the Texans and Chiefs tonight.
That's going to be a great game.
Massive game.
Mm-hmm.
I think this game comes down to one thing: the legs of Patrick Mahomes.
And if anybody was watching Thanksgiving Day, because I was, I saw a change in Mahomes. Man still threw 4 touchdowns. That's not to say much. He just doesn't seem as mobile as he's had it since the beginning of the season. He looks to have slowed down a little. And this Houston defense is so damn good. With Derek Stingley Jr., leading the way in that secondary. I give it to the Houston defense. To me, it's their job to shut down Patrick Mahomes. And if there's any team that can really stop him, it's gonna be this Houston defense.
And other side of the ball, Kansas City's defense needs to get a couple of turnovers in this game.
Oh, McDuffie has to recover from the last 2 weeks. Let those games go and let that game go and just get back to playing the way he does.
And I think he can. And I'm concerned about the Texans. The Texans' offensive line is not great. So the Chiefs, Chris Jones, he might have himself a night too. So
He could have a couple of sacks today, but we're gonna see CJ Stroud, really get back into it, and we'll see.
this might be
I'm looking.
defensive for a game we thought might be a shootout. This might be a defensive struggle.
It could be as a low scoring game, something like 17-10 or something like that, 17-13.
And by the way, that's the one thing the Chiefs haven't done this year that they've done in years past. They're just not winning those one score games.
Right.
So, and then Monday night we got the Eagles and the Chargers. Justin Herbert's listed as questionable. I don't understand it. I just wouldn't play him.
And here's the thing, it's the same injury that Aaron Rodgers sustained. It's a fracture to the non-throwing hand. He's been seen throwing at practice. All points, even pointed out by Schefter, is that he is gonna try and give it a go. But you look at you're 8-4. You're not out of it. Can you afford to give Justin Herbert a rest and hope beyond hope? Not really, but is it in your better interest? Yes, give him an extra week for that hand to get a little bit more healed. But I really don't, I'm not worried about the chart. I'm worried, and as an analyst, not as a bias, I'm worried, like Mike said, about this Philadelphia offense because I don't know what it's actually capable of anymore. I don't know if Saquon Barkley's playing injured. I know he had a problem with a thigh and whatnot. He has not been the same starter he's been over the last first half of the season. There is definite problems between AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, even though over the last 2 games, AJ Brown has shown up. But there is something wrong with this Eagles defense. It has just collapsed week after week after week, and the offense just can't keep up.
Mm-hmm. The Eagles they remind me of the team of 2 years ago that just choked. And they're not going to have Jalen Carter this week. That's a huge blow.
Yeah.
So the Chargers, who might be getting Omari and Hampton back, might be able to run the ball. I still wouldn't play Herbert, but it is what it is.
I mean, I get the point. You want to be in the playoffs, and that hand will be better come playoff time. But again, I agree with Mike.
You've invested so much in the guy. I
Yes.
just think 1 week wouldn't kill you. But but I'm with you on Philly. Like I am. They're the one team in the NFC right now. Like if I'm going into the playoffs, I look at it and go, I can beat them. They're beating themselves more than other teams are beating them. Penalties and the AJ Brown thing is just so freaking weird to me.
Um, I- Call me crazy. I don't know his contract as trade wise. I see Phil moving him, whether it's before the draft for draft compensation or moving him for a player or two after the new year. After the Super Bowl, sorry. After the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so see what happens there. All right. Your fantasy player of the day will be
Quinshon Judkins for the Cleveland Browns. I think That is the only way Cleveland's really going to do much. Not to take anything away from Shadur, as this Tennessee defense is really poo-poo. So we can keep this
Not
episode
good.
clean. Yeah, it's poor. And I see Judkins having, 100, 110 yards and 2 touchdowns today.
I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford. The Rams quarterback didn't play well against the Panthers last week.
One of his worst showings of the entire season.
Still threw for 2 touchdowns. The Rams are coming
Yeah.
off a loss. They're mad. I would not want to be the Arizona Cardinals today.
And that Arizona Cardinals team doesn't really know who it is, whether it's on offense or on defense. So,
Or on special teams. They don't even know what kind of bird they are. That's how confused they are. All right. That'll do it for the Week 14 edition of Sunday Sideline Report. Check us out every Sunday right here on the SA YouTube channel. Follow us on the socials, Facebook, the Sports Insanity Network, Twitter, S Insanity Real. Go to the website, thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. Great blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. Everyone enjoy Week 14. We'll be back with you next week with another edition of the Sunday Sideline Report. Enjoy